Welcome to Calvary Baptist Church, Idaho Falls, where we seek to glorify God, make disciples, and take the gospel to the nations. For more information about our church, please visit www.calvaryidahofalls.org.
So we have spent almost 2 months looking at this book. Some would probably say that's way too long. Solomon is way too depressed. But this is the Word of God, it is the wisdom of God, and it has pushed us to think about life under the sun and all of the realities of it. And a lot of those realities aren't very good. And what Solomon is investigating is what he calls vanity, which is a word that best translated would be mist or vapor, something that is very illusory, something that you can't grab hold of. It is very real. Think about your breath on a really cold morning. You breathe it out. That's a very real thing, but then try to grab it and hold on to it, right? You can't do it. And Solomon is saying so many of the things in life that we think are important, so many of the things that we make our life about, that we center our life around, are vanity. Because they are very temporary. They are like a mist. They are like a vapor. They are not things that can be grasped or held on to very easily. And we have looked at multiple of these vanities, or daily pursuits that people tend to build their lives around. We looked at knowledge and wisdom. Some people say, I want to be smart. I want to be wise. I want to be educated. And so that's the focus of their life. Others say, well, I just want to live for pleasure. I just want to indulge myself. You only get one life. You only get so many years. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to go full bore and do whatever I want to do. Others say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to live wisely. I'm going to have a savings account, and I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to set aside my money, and that's what I'm going to make my life about. Others say, well, I'm going to work, right? I'm going to make my life about my job because I want to leave a legacy, or I want to make a lot of money, or I want to do this. And then we talked about time, and how time is also vanity because it's here today and gone tomorrow. And when we think about 99 years, right? Some of us wish we would get 99 years. But if we think about that amount of time, right? That seems like a really long time. But the older you get, it seems like a very short amount of time, right? And when you compare it to eternity, it is a blip on the radar screen. And then last week we talked about the vanity of evil and how some people just say, well, listen, this world is a broken place. This world is messed up, and everybody else is just out for themselves. So that's what I'm going to live like. And I'm just going to focus on me. And we talked about how that evil, that sin, robs us of the very thing that we desperately need, which is relationship. Well, the last vanity that we're going to look at today is the vanity of wealth and honor. These two pursuits have been quite consistent across time and cultures. Very important thing to be honored, right? We want to be honored. We want more and more people to honor us. We want to be in positions of power or authority so that people have to honor us, right? So they owe us that honor. And who doesn't like money, right? And beyond even money, wealth, right? Long-term financial gain and stability and all of these kind of things. Yet despite the almost universal desire for both of these things, they do not bring us what we really need. They do not bring us what we're desperately searching for. Wealth and honor will not heal your heart. Wealth and honor will not bring you peace. It will leave you searching. It will leave you grasping. It will leave you desperate in the end. And this is the picture that Solomon brings to us here in Ecclesiastes chapter 5 this morning. Let's begin by looking at verses 8 and 9. Ecclesiastes 5, beginning with verse 8. It says, if you see in a province the oppression of the poor and the violation of justice and righteousness, do not be amazed at the matter. For the high official is watched over by a higher, and they are yet higher ones over them. But this is gain for the land, and in every way a king committed to cultivated fields. Now, what in the world are we talking about? We're talking about injustice, and then we're talking about the king has cultivated. What in the world is going on here? What Solomon is describing is an organized society. He is describing the way the world works, right? Somebody has to do the work, and somebody else has to make the decisions, right? So you have those who are in charge, and then you have those who are the grunt labor. Right? That's the way society works in every culture, in every place. It works like that. Solomon is observing life, and he says, if you see in a province or a place the oppression of the poor and the violation of justice and righteousness, do not be amazed. Right? That's the way the world works. He's not saying this is right. He's not saying this is good. He is saying this is what happens. Because people are broken, because people are sinful. And so if you put a person in charge, you know what you're going to have? Messed up stuff. Right? And it doesn't matter what person you put in charge, because we're all broken. We all make mistakes. We all fall short. Right? And he says, so in our desire to be honored, in our desire to climb the ladder, in our desire to have more and more and more, you will never get to a place where there is not someone else over you. Even the king. Right? The king is glad that this system exists, because if this system doesn't exist, right, then there would just be chaos. There would be anarchy and nobody would eat. But even the king, who has all of the blessings of everything in the society, right? God is still over him. The king is not the ultimate authority. And so no matter how many ladders you climb, how many rungs you go up, there will always be someone over you. And so we see from this, you were not made to be honored. You were made to worship. Now, honor is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, the Bible encourages us in the Ten Commandments even. What does it say? Honor your father and your mother. Right? The Bible talks about honoring leaders and government officials and all of these other kind of things. It's not that honor is bad, but it is the pursuit of honor. The desire to climb the ladder, to have more and more power and influence that becomes dangerous to our soul. So we look at this and go, well, it's not dangerous to me, it's just dangerous to these other people who I treat poorly. The Bible would say, no, the pursuit of wealth and honor is dangerous to your own soul. Everyone wants to rule, but no one wants to be ruled. Right? I mean, just be honest. We want to be in charge. And so that's why we have conflict. That's why we have problems. That's why we have conflict in marriage. That's why we have conflicts in friendship. That's why we have conflicts at work. That's why we have conflicts in our society, because everyone wants to rule and nobody wants to be ruled. Everybody wants to make the rules and no one wants to follow the rules. But the Bible says, listen, there is an order, there is a thing. This is given to us. God is in control. You and I are creatures created by God. We often fight that classification. Right? We want to be autonomous, self-sustaining individuals. I don't need anybody else. I don't need anyone. I don't need anything. I can get it on my own. You go do that. And you may have success. You may be able to gain or acquire or get, but it will leave you empty and it will leave you miserable. It will not give you that which you really seek. It will not give you that which you were made for. You see, your created purpose was not to be honored. Your created purpose was to worship the one true God. Right? That's how God made us. Not so that he could stick his thumb on us or, look at us like a big ant pile and just step on it and mess it up and make us run around and scurry and, take a magnifying glass and, burn us or something like some sadistic little kid playing with ants, right? That's some people's picture of God. That is not who God is. That's not the evidence of this world. That is not the evidence of the Scripture. God loves you. God has a plan for you. God made you. And we fit and we work rightly when we're in right relationship with Him. When we are honoring Him, when we are glorifying Him, when we are worshiping Him, when we realize that we're not God, but He is. That we're not in control, but He is. You see, I can use my cell phone as a hammer. But it wasn't made for that. And sooner or later, what's going to happen is it's going to break this thing. It's going to damage it. And it's not even going to accomplish the purpose for which I'm trying to use it, right? I mean, it's not going to drive the nail very well. I'm able to get started, but I'm not driving a nail through a board with a cell phone because it's not its creative purpose. Now, we could look up here at the baptistry and you go, man, that'd make a great bathtub. Except for the fact that on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, everybody would see you. Right? I mean, you can take things and use them for their non-created purpose, but it doesn't work out well. So you can say, well, I'm getting along pretty good. I'm okay. I'm fine doing this on my own or trying to function in my life this way. But God says that's not what you were made for. And the reason that you keep hitting a wall, the reason that you keep struggling, the reason that you do not have peace and joy and satisfaction is because you're trying to live your life for its non-created purpose. We're not made to be honored, but to worship. So Solomon goes on here. Look with me at verse 10 of chapter 5. He says, "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This is also vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. And what advantage has their owner but to see them with his eyes? Sweet is the sleep of the laborer, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep. This is a grievous evil that I have seen under the sun. Riches were kept by their owner to his hurt. And those riches were lost in a bad venture, and his father of a son, but has nothing in his hand." Or he is a father to a son, but has nothing in his hand. "And he came from his mother's womb, he shall go again, naked as he came, and shall take nothing for his toil that he may carry away in his hand. This is also a grievous evil. Just as he came, so shall he go. And what gain is there to him who toils for the wind? Moreover, all his days he eats in darkness, in much vexation and sickness and anger." Solomon says the love of money and wealth is a great burden. Now don't hear this wrong. He's not saying that money and wealth are evil. What does he say? The love of money and wealth. So what's the difference? Why does he distinguish between money and wealth? Well, money is short term, right? That's cash in your hand. That's like I got a fistful of dollars, right? I got a fat wallet. I've got this right now, and I can go spend it and I can use it, but it's very short term, right? Money. But wealth is long term. Think assets and business, good job, retirement, right? So these are two different focuses, and sometimes, everybody wants some money, right? And then other people try to build wealth, right? But the reality is that both of these things, one being a long-term investment, other being a short-term gain. When we love these things, it is damaging to our soul. It becomes a burden for us and leads to all manner of sin and rebellion against God and other people, like things like lust and greed and pride and stealing and lying and cheating and envy. which divide us from God and everyone else. When money becomes the pursuit of our life, when wealth becomes the pursuit of our life, then nothing else stands in the way of getting it. Right? And so we'll lie, cheat, steal. Right? It was just a little white lie, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. I can be mean to this person to get what I want or to pursue my goal or whatever. I can ruin this relationship. It doesn't really matter. Right? And then it becomes this burden, this thing I must maintain and I must keep. Because what does it say? He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. You will never get paid enough. You will never have enough in the account, no matter how much you have. Right? I mean, have you ever wondered, right, about these people who, like billionaires and stuff, why they just don't quit going to work? Right? I mean, somebody who, and I'm not talking about somebody who has like inherited this money. I'm talking about somebody who's earned that money, right? And they've gotten it and they created this wealth. Why don't they just quit? Because they can't. Because they love money. And no matter how much they have, the desire to keep pursuing that continues to grow. Now, let's not put this all on rich people. I've met a lot of poor people who are as money hungry as the wealthiest man in the world. How much money you have does not determine whether you love money or not. Right? And so this can still be a rot and cancer to you, even if you don't feel like you've got anything and everybody else has more than you. We read this passage from Luke chapter 12 this morning. Kent had them read it, and it talks about, Jesus tells a parable about a rich man. Right? And everything's going well. I mean, he's a farmer. He's producing. He has so much grain that he can't even put it in his barn because his barn's not big enough. So what does he do? He said, well, I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. And then he says, then I'm going to say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But Jesus says, but you're not in control. I mean, Jesus says, you fool. This night your soul is required of you. Right? This night, you're going to die. You can't control that, right? I mean, you might be able to think you can manipulate the stock market and you can control the real estate market or you can control whatever job that you have and you can control how all of that's going to come and go, but you cannot control the day that you die. You cannot control the number of days that you will live. And you can't take it with you. You can't. I mean, just think about this. With all of the wealth and money that you have on earth and all that can buy for you here, it can do nothing for you when you die. In either heaven or hell, your money is no good. It can't get you out of one and into another, and it cannot build a mansion or ease your suffering. I mean, think about this. I looked up yesterday. What is the least valued currency in the world right now? Right? In 2018, the least valued currency was the Iranian rial. Think about this. It was worth .000024 American dollars. Or $1 was worth over 42,000 Iranian rial. So if you had one Iranian rial, you know what you got? Virtually nothing. The piece of paper is worth more than the actual money that you're holding in your hand. And this is the way it is with what you've earned on earth when you try to go to heaven. Folks, listen, if the streets of heaven are paved with gold, what do you think your money is worth? Not much. Nothing. You can't do anything with it. You can't take it with you. So you spend all of your life, you're 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years acquiring all of this, and then one day it is all gone. Solomon says, listen, there's got to be some focus on what is beyond. There's got to be some focus on eternity versus just the here and now. So what's the proper view of these things? If this is the wrong view, what is the proper view? So let's look. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, beginning with verse 18. He says, "Behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them and to accept his lot and rejoice in his toil. This is the gift of God. For he will not much remember the days of his life because God keeps him occupied with the joy of his heart." Now you say, what does that mean? Does it mean that it would just, I just enjoy it, I just have fun, I just have a good time? I mean, what is this saying? Think about what we had looked at in the first part of this chapter, right? So your life is going to be one of two ways. It's going to be about what you can do to get what you want. Or it's going to be about what God has given you and giving him thanks for it. That's two totally different perspectives. Right? If my life is about what I can get and acquire and have and consume, then I will never be satisfied. But if I see everything, every breath, every day as a gift from God, then I can be content. I can be joyous. Think about this. What tastes better? The meal that you have to plop down the money for, or the meal that somebody else buys you? I'm telling you folks, free food always tastes better. And maybe I'm just cheap, and every time I got to pull out my card or pull out that money and pay that bill and doing all that, and I'm calculating what's the tip, and I'm going, was that really worth that amount of money? But when somebody else is paying for it, buddy, I'm talking about that was a good meal. I mean, even that hot dog, right? It was good because it was free. Folks, you can look at life one of two ways. It's about what I do and what I work and how hard I am doing all of these things to get what I need and what I want. Or it's that every day, every breath, every opportunity, every even talent that I've been given is from God. It is a gift. That's what Solomon says. He says, look, he's not just throwing his hands up and saying, well, life is awful, so you might as well just enjoy it. No, listen to this. He says, but I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun. The few days of his life that what? God has given him. Your days are a gift from God. Every single one of them. The fact that you wake up in the morning and take a breath and breathe oxygen, the fact that you can be asleep and still stay alive is a gift from God. And then he goes on, he says, everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power. He doesn't say, what he doesn't say here is feel guilty about that. What does he say? Enjoy it. If God has given it to you, enjoy it. What he also says is don't look around and compare what God has given you to everybody else and say, well, I've been cheated. Right? And so when we see our life and where God has placed us and what God has given us as a gift from his hand, then we can be content in a little and we can be content in much. Because we understand it can change in an instant. And some of you have been there before. Some of you have been in places where you didn't have anything and you were happy. And in other times, you've been in places where you've had a whole lot and you didn't feel a whole lot better, right? And maybe you felt worse. And maybe you've gone from a lot to a little. But the Bible here is telling us that there can be joy and contentment when we see all of it as a gift of God. This is what the Apostle Paul says in Philippians chapter 4, beginning with verse 11. He says, not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I have learned that in whatever situation I am in to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. And in any and every circumstance, I have learned that the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. And this is the verse that everybody takes out of context. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's the context of that verse, folks. Contentment with life. I can walk through the good times and I can walk through the bad by the power and the strength of Jesus. Because I know life is a gift and all the blessings of it are from Him. So in the end, what do? We'll flip over. We read this the first week that we looked at the book of Ecclesiastes. I want to read it again. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, the very last verse, or last two verses, verse 13 and 14. Says this. It says, the end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, and with every secret thing, whether good or evil. So again, we've talked about how you could read the book of Ecclesiastes, and a lot of people do, and it sounds like something you'd read in a philosophy class. I mean, you're thinking, this Solomon guy's just saying life doesn't matter, and life is meaningless, and life, it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to get the bad end of the stick, and you're just going to die. But that's not the point of this book, and Solomon comes to the end of it, and he says this. You were created to fear God, right? To worship God, to give your life to God, and to follow His commands, to honor Him with your life. That is your created purpose. That is your sweet spot. And then verse 14, he says, for God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. You may think you're getting away with a lot right now. Nobody really knows what's going on, but God knows. And maybe we don't talk about this enough, but one day we will stand before God and be judged. And woe to us who stand before God on our own merit to be judged, because we will all fail. And the Bible says none of us measure up. We have all fallen short of the glory of God. We are broken. We are miserable. We have no hope of forgiveness, of grace, of mercy, of anything based on what we have done. We have failed. But here's the question. When it comes to the end and you stand before the Lord, how will you answer? Will it be, Lord, look at what I have done. This is my life. This is what I've contributed. This is what I've made. This is what I've stacked up. This is how I've been a good person. And knowing that it will never be good enough. Or will it be, thank you, Lord, for what you did for me? Only two answers that you can give when you stand before the Lord is it's either what I have done or what Jesus has done. What do you trust in this morning? Do you trust in yourself? You trust in your ability to be good, to keep it up, to maintain? Or do you trust in the fact that Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, came to do what we could not? He came to be perfect for us, to fulfill the law of God. And then He died on the cross, suffering the sin, the shame, and the brokenness. Right? The Bible says, He who knew no sin became sin, that we might become the righteousness of God. So every sin was laid on Him, that we might be forgiven. And you say, well, what do I got to do? The Bible's really clear. It says trust and believe in Jesus. We're either doing one of the two things. We are looking and living in our sin and our rebellion, or we are turning and we are trusting in Jesus Christ. The Bible doesn't say you've got to fix your life. The Bible just says you've got to acknowledge that your life is broken and needs fixing. And then you just turn to Jesus and you trust in Him. You trust that what He did on the cross is sufficient for you to be forgiven. For you to be made righteous in His eyes. It's that simple this morning. And so here's the question. Will you come back to your creative purpose? Will you live your life as a cell phone trying to drive nails into a piece of wood, breaking and shattering all over the place? Or will you live your life as God intended and made you to be, in right relationship with Him and with others? Would you trust Jesus today? Let's pray.